speaker is Lisa Corduff. Lisa will share her story of losing her husband tragically at age 40. Lisa has successfully run her own online business for some years while raising her children as a solo parent. She's passionate about helping people to work through grief and loss and to understand that there are ways to navigate life with purpose after significant loss. She's also a proud Wombat's Wish ambassador, a charity supporting children in grief. Let's welcome Lisa.
I'm really honoured to be here tonight, so thank you for having me, Peninsula Boys. I'm going to be talking to you tonight about some of the unexpected gifts that I have experienced from grief, and I would like to pay my respects to the Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nation who are the traditional owners of the land in which we're gathered here tonight. I just want to acknowledge their enduring relationship to this land, which is not ceded, and pay my deep respects to their elders past and present. And just for a bit of context before I share with you two little stories, my husband Nick died in 2019 at age 40 suddenly, and although we'd actually been separated for 9 months before he died, I still consider myself a widow. Our love was deep and beautiful. He was a complex, sensitive, artistic, sentimental aerospace engineer. He was a doting dad to our 3 children who were 8, 7 and 5 when he died. He was such a loving and supportive husband. Unfortunately, his dependence on alcohol became a very serious issue. He entered rehab for the first time in 2017 and he began the path of recovery. There was never violence or aggression in our home. Nick used to catch flies with his hands and put them back outside. You would never meet a gentler soul. But addiction is a tricky beast. Nick spent 6 months in a sober house in 2019, but relapsed the night he left and then took himself to India, where he intended to stay at an ashram and meditate under the guidance of a guru he really liked. The very last words I ever said to him as I hugged him goodbye before he left were, "I hope you find the peace you've been looking for." And those words haunt me a little. Unfortunately, he never made it to the ashram. His heart stopped whilst he was touring his way there. Everyone here knows grief. My path has been twisty, turny, as surprising, as challenging as the next person. But what I didn't expect were the gifts that grief would deliver me, and tonight I'll share 2. The first gift, as Roz also mentioned, was learning that grief and joy can coexist. 4 days after we found out that Nick had died, the kids and I were meant to be flying out of Melbourne to Bali. It was my 40th birthday that September, and to celebrate, I decided to take them on their first overseas holiday. I remember sitting on the floor of my daughter's bedroom with a suitcase open in front of me, feeling dazed and confused a day before we were meant to leave, crying, looking at Mum saying, "What do I do? Should I go on a holiday at this crazy time?" There wasn't going to be a funeral anytime soon. His funeral happened a month after he died because of expatriation and all the messiness that comes with dying in India, which I don't recommend. FYI. Anyway, we went. I have no memory of that plane trip, but I do remember landing at the airport thinking, what the hell am I doing here? Everything felt really intense. I mean, I was already at my emotional limit, so navigating all the extra bits like passport control was really overwhelming. But I got through and we had a bus waiting for us to take us to Club Med. I'd booked a holiday that could actually be a holiday for me as a sole parent, all meals and activities included. And it was the best thing we could have done. The kids absolutely loved it. I mean, what an adventure. It's crazy that the very worst thing had happened, and yet There they were, squealing with delight at the buffet for breakfast, lunch and dinner. And this was the gift from that trip. Learning grief and joy coexist. The kids couldn't hold the energy of grief all the time. They naturally moved in and out of it. It made me think about us adults and how we can stay stuck in an emotional place for a really long time. Of course, there were many moments of crying. There was the reminding them, especially the youngest, that Dad had died, and that meant they wouldn't see him again. There were mornings where we just lay in bed in tears and talked about what all this meant. You can imagine the questions they had. And at that stage, we actually had no idea what had happened to him in India. But there was also water aerobics in the pool, ice cream after dinner every night, boat trips and water slides, things that make you happy. So there I was, watching my kids experience this mixture, and I realised that I was going to need to create space for and honour both grief and joy in our lives moving forward. I had no idea what was in store for us when we got home, but learning that very early in our grief journey helped me see that life is never one thing. The kids can move through their emotions quite easily, and that if we allow space to feel the grief, then beautiful things like joy can follow. I promised myself I'd be available for joy. The kids showed me how. The kids taught me there's no right or wrong for how to navigate this loss. They taught me that laughter is medicine, silliness is medicine, joy is medicine. And I discovered that a new environment does wonders. That, in fact, was a key part of the past 5 years. Joy for me is new places, nature, adventures, changing up my environment on a normal work day, or discovering new places in our state to holiday, or even a one-night staycation in a city. It does wonders for me. Learning this lesson that grief and joy coexist very early on meant I was always looking out for where it was hiding. And it wasn't just in new environments, it was in my tiny kitchen, dancing with my children, or scootering around our neighbourhood during brutal COVID lockdowns. It was found in opening my heart to love again, or trying a new recipe that all 3 kids loved. When you recognise joy can exist in the murkiest times, you remain open to life being a tapestry of all things, and there's fluidity to it all. That trip to Bali, just days after his death, I'm so grateful for the gift it gave us. The second gift is becoming open to receiving. When Nick had his first stint in rehab back in 2017, we were living in Brisbane. I had my 3rd child there in 2014, and the other 2 were born in Sydney in 2010 and 2012. We spent a decade away from our friends and family in Melbourne. We became parents without any support nearby. And so self-sufficiency was our MO. It was Nick and Lisa against the world. But when we went to rehab, when I knew things really weren't good, I decided to move us back. I had a thriving business, 3 kids to raise, and now a husband who was on the path of recovery from alcohol addiction. It's a bit much. Let's go home, where there's loads of support, I decided. It felt like a huge relief to make that decision, like I might not have to carry everything on my own anymore. And I didn't. But of course I did, because I didn't know any other way. I moved us all back to Melbourne, and do you think I ever accepted any help or reached out for support? I felt like doing that might show everyone I didn't have it all together, which I didn't. I knew everyone else was busy, so I didn't want to put them out. They wanted to help. I got myself into an absolute mess and ended up with shingles, trying to manage everything. And I still didn't learn the lesson. The lesson was that help and support was there, but I actually needed to shift my staunchly self-sufficient ways and be open to receive it. It was only since Nick died that I really started to practice that. Learning to receive help has been such an unexpected gift. I still find it super uncomfortable, and yet I can see now how much of a gift it is for the people who love us to support us in meaningful ways. Mum, who is here tonight, pops up each Monday to potter around my house and do things I never seem to get around to. Humans are good. When I help a friend or family member, I feel purposeful and fulfilled, and I was robbing my friends and family of that feeling by pushing them away for years. I've got this. I did not have this. Life feels better being supported. It doesn't mean I'm failing. It means I'm not a robot. I'm not an Energizer bunny. There's strength in surrendering to being supported. I'm now open to receive in ways that I never would have been when Nick's still alive. And the beautiful thing is, support comes in so many different forms. My sister, who is like my kid's second mum. My best friend, who takes them for a day every school holidays and spoils them rotten. My parents, who've been there every step of the way, and more than just popping up to help me at home, they offer me a break and a soft place to land when my heart is heavy and the load feels too much. The dads of my son's friends who take him camping or teach him welding or include him in their gym sessions. The netball carpool, able to take my daughter when I need to be somewhere else. For a while it came in the form of a partner for me, whose steady presence was like tonic through the hardest times. The friends who helped me figure out how to theme a Taylor Swift-inspired sleepover. Or drop over food when I'm maxed out. The primary school who gave my son a male teacher every single year after his dad died. The brother and sister who I babysat when they were little, who babysit my kids and are now like older siblings. An extraordinary team of women who've worked in my business over the years, who carried the load when I had nothing left and kept believing in me and what I could do when it all felt way too hard and I wanted to disappear. So much support in lots of different forms. I had to be open to receiving it. And the thing is, when you realise there's not just one kind, when you realise there's loads of ways to be supported, lots of forms it can take, it takes away a bit of that alone feeling. The feeling that it's all on you. It's a biggie, that one. For a widow raising small kids, there's no fallback. And it's true in the sense I'm responsible for raising kids without my co-parent, but we can all be supported as I do this. Our lives are far better because I opened up to receiving. I wish I knew as a married woman the support was there for me then too. Instead, I was siloed away in my home trying to be all the things, do all the things. Living is better when we free ourselves of the expectation we don't have to pretend we have this. And instead we learn to say, I need this, tough, but worth it. Being a widow has brought challenges, but it's also made me more. And not just in the parenting sense, but as a woman in the world. I can feel absolutely overwhelmed by the responsibility and the grief, and then decide we're having pancakes with ice cream for dinner and eat it in front of the TV, and all feels okay again. I can choose fun and joy, and I'm glad. I guess we all get to do that. We get to expand and make different choices. We get to explore who we are, who we want to be on the other side of loss. It's not easy and not a quick process, but a gift. Grief has taught me that life is precious. People are precious, so very precious, and we should tell them. It's taught me we don't have forever, and we get to seek out creative ways to live whilst we're here. It's taught me not to hold too tightly to an imagined future, because anything can change at any time, and I can change. I can evolve. I get to. Grief has made living richer for me. How totally unexpected. It's made me grateful I get to be here, and it's helped me see what really matters. I truly believe it's the ultimate transformer, because the depth of feeling, the axis shifting reality swap, the muddiness and murkiness you have to will yourself through, you cannot help but be changed. I'm so pleased to say that 5.5 years after Nick's death, the kids and I are a connected and joyful and adventurous, close-knit crew. And grief is still a huge thing for us. We walk through life with it. And while that has not been easy, there has been gifts and lessons about life, about living. I mean, when your husband dies at 40 years old, you know that tomorrow is not guaranteed. You suddenly understand how precious life is, and that we get to choose to really live it, because we're still here. We can choose to live with wide open hearts and take in the magic of life. As someone who has experienced big grief, I see joy in moments others might miss. I appreciate the little things in ways I didn't before his death. I discovered strength and courage that I had no idea I had. I remember waking up thinking, how am I meant to walk my children into their dad's funeral today? Where's the guidebook? Because I don't know how to do this. And I did it. The hardest thing. There's no one here tonight who hasn't experienced profound grief and had to do really hard things. We've all lost someone we love. And we're here to live. And I think that's really the biggest gift of all. Thank you.